course, the whole city is coming alive. That's just what it is. A lot of hustle and bustle around where I'm at. So hopefully it's not too much of a distraction. I was like, oh, let me fit this in around like lunchtime. And of course, so I'm just like playing with the phone a little bit. I've been reading a couple of definitions and just seeing what's out there on these YouTube streets. And there's just so many videos, guys, like trying to make women accountable all the time, and it's kind of like it gets redundant after a while, like, if the men is like the stronger species, as they say, right, why are they spending most of their time trying to knock down the self-esteem of most women, right? You guys would want to promote our well-beings and kind of uplift us if that could help the situation, especially in your working relationships and your relationships entirely, right? We do need positive reinforcement, just like you guys need and you require. We also require such things too. And in a lot of dynamics, people have like a mean spirit. It's almost like competitiveness, where if you're too good to each other, or you are actually in tune with your significant other, they call it all kind of names, right? Even to the point of simping, right? So this is definitely a very artificial construct, okay? But I'm reading a little bit of my Black's Law dictionary. I think that some people out there can stand to use like little short videos. This is just going to be like a short live. Sometimes it's easier just to do a live and to upload. I'm in my office. I'm trying to, it's a little messy. I'm just trying to put all my stuff back together here. It's easier just to upload because as you're doing your live, I'm here to take questions if you guys, had anything you wanted to ask. Just showing you how, like, the world is on fire in a way, right? Of course. It's Monday. I think that the day itself, Monday or Moon Day, is a very manic day. It's just made that way somehow. In old calendars, it'd be considered most likely the second day of the week, right? We would call Sunday the first day. If you know anything about Latin or foreign languages, in Portuguese, it would be domingo, segunda-feira, terça-feira, quarta-feira, quinta-feira, sexta-feira, and sábado. So they actually go by the numbering system, like the first day, the second day, the third day, instead of like giving them like these names and stuff. I'm trying to put the camera a little bit away. I'm trying to like set it up where I can have it held up. But there's a term in here called actionable wrong. So we go into different topics, sometimes the law, and also with relationships too. This can kind of translate into different arenas, and a lot of people seem to neglect the most important things in their life too. So I like going over the dictionary and showing you guys like at least new terms that you can keep in your arsenal. So one is called actionable wrong. So that is a tort committed when a responsible person has neglected to use a reasonable degree of care for protection of another person from such injury as under existing conditions should reasonably have been foreseen as a proximate consequence of that negligence. Okay. So a lot of people sign up for things, but they don't have like a duty to care, or they just go into situations, not expecting to have any type of reciprocity or, responsible action, and making sure that, the person that you're dealing with is, comfortable, and that you don't put them in harm's way and things like that, right? So, in different scenarios, a lot of people don't even think that far ahead, right? They just kind of like, rush into situations, or they deal with people and they're not looking out for their best interest, right? So this can cause a lot of craziness, right? And so instead of tackling like the real issues of like how everyone should be responsible for their actions in whatever situation that they're in, you get a lot of podcasts that it's like, oh, let's just blame women, or oh, let's just blame these people or whatever. And that's not doing anything but causing more people to look down on each other and to cause more misunderstanding and more trials and tribulations out there. So that's on you guys to decide, right? If you guys come in the chat, say hi. This is just going to be a short impromptu. I do like reading off, my books a little bit. And when I do some of my videos, if it's like a short and I'm like kind of doing my little karaoke, doesn't always mean it's something like totally personal, but it could be somebody in my vicinity, right? Because there's a lot of snakes out there, and it's like a lot of people believe their own bullshit. And I've seen grown ass people who their whole world is just like revolves around them. Okay, they don't care who they're hurting, who they're exploiting in whatever way, right? But at the end of the day, right, it's just their selfishness, right? So I'm seeing that a lot too. A lot of people kind of have to move past that instead of playing like these podcasts, because I just scrolled by another one. I'm like, here we go. And it was like, women lie to themselves. I'm like, men lie to themselves all the time too. Okay. And it's like, okay, some women lie to themselves, some women don't, right? I think that goes without saying, when a lot of people, sometimes they'll think extra negative, or, they'll think a little bit, too positive, right? Or they won't see like the whole picture, and they'll be a little bit like naive in the situation. So that's like one way you can lie to yourself, right? You don't want to see like the worst in other people. Some people just see the best in other people, right? But you kind of have to see the whole person. And no one needs to be perfect, but people need to respect each other's rights. And you can't try to screw someone over just because you had like a little verbal falling out. That's why it's so important, especially in business situations. It can be even with apartments. It could be like in any type of business transaction, you really have to keep it limited. And a lot of people too having real life issues just because of a misunderstanding or words being exchanged, and then people getting really in their feelings, right? And then they lash out, and in certain respects, it could cross the border of being illegal, right? Because now they're like neglecting certain things, right? It could be the same thing at work. It could be in whatever. It could be a contractor even, right? Like something could be misunderstood, right? And then now they're neglecting their job, or they're neglecting terms of their contract, right? Or in certain relationships, right, when it goes south, then it's like one party does not want to move in good faith, and they'll neglect their responsibilities. And it's so easy. That's why I tell you guys to move with tact too, because it's like it's so easy to see the best in someone, but it's like it takes time to get to know people. It could be years and years and years, and you would still you're not seeing like the whole every side of that individual, right? And I've seen in some cases where you have each other's back and stuff, and you make all these promises and all of this stuff, right? And then when there's like a falling out, or if you piss each other off or whatever, then they can exude that power over the other one too, and it could be like a lot of repressed stuff going on. So there's a lot of like fragmented people out there, a lot of burned people, a lot of jaded people, and that's on both accounts too. Not to say that women don't do it to men, but to come on these spaces and just be like, oh, it's all this, it's all that. Snakes come in all forms, let me tell you. And I just, I make my jokes, and I'm like, yeah, well, if they do that to you, you can just, you can be the best at it and give it right back to them. Not to lower your moral code, right? I'm talking about the snake, Moses, the snake, right? The healing one, the antidote, right? The one that's not poisonous, right? But basically being subtle and being tactful, right? Even the serpent was the most subtle beast in the field. You don't have to be deceptive like one, right? What does it say? Be wise as a serpent, but harmless as a dove. That's what the good book says. So have a little tact, right? And like, oh, when they try to be slick Rick with you, right? You'll know how to counter that, but that doesn't mean that you got to be malicious like some of these people. And there's something to be said too, to like hold in your own and guarding your spirit and guarding your energy, as they say, because when you're around poisonous snakes enough, like especially in this construct, right? And some people, they're proud to be one, right? They kind of like, embrace the whole like demonic side, right? But there's a source of strength and walking and being good too, because good always outweighs evil. Don't forget that, right? Because in this world, they'll make you forget that for a minute, right? Thinking like the harder you go, right? Or the lower that you go, right? The more that you gain, kind of thing. And a lot of times when you go that low, you could be sacrificing parts of yourself or your integrity. And for other people, that may not bother them, but for someone with like a higher, integrity spectrum, right? Or that has like at least that, that self love, that would actually disappoint you and make you feel really shitty, right? And you don't want to have to, if you're moving around with people that are making you have to dip that low, it's better for you to like just dip out, kind of thing, right? Because a lot of the times you could be trying to, move in a high, like, a high vibration. I know people don't always like using these terms, but I try to keep it, where it's relatable for a lot of people. But if you stay on that narrow path, you're definitely gonna be tested a lot with like, it's almost like being Dorothy, the whole Wizard of Oz. You're gonna get all these characters, and it's gonna be hard to tell who's real, who's not, right? Because a lot of people are wearing masks, and they might put a mask of kindness or concern or interest or whatever, but it's only to try to get their end goal. They don't have, they're very negligent in their own life, and they bring that bad energy. They just want to kind of smear it on other people. So I get that too, like as far as like business situations too. Like I might get certain clients, and then it's like, they'll come with like a certain goal, and then sometimes they'll have like a lot of emotional baggage, and it'll resonate through. And then I'm like, well, gee, thanks. You know what I mean? What'd you think this was, right? Right. And they'll kind of project, right? They might talk about, how they dealt with depression or had this and that, which is fine if you want to like kick it, if you want to kick the can down the road and, have a powwow and talk about your feelings and stuff. But when they stop projecting as if like, because they went through it, that's something that you're going through too, that's when it gets ridiculous, right? So I don't deal with that too much. So as far as like emails, I have no problem if like people want to powwow and talk or things like that. But I try to keep it limited. It's, more professional basis. And I put up my Cash App yesterday, Diana-7. I'm sorry if people don't like when I do that, but at the same time, for insight, for information, I've been going through a lot of the administrative stuff too. That's like a whole separate thing. That's really intricate technology too. So I do separate videos when it comes to that, but I do always refer to my books. And although I like using my screen recorder, this is one way you can show receipts too. Just having your books, reading it from there. I like reading from the Bouvier's dictionary as well. Anderson's is another good one. There's so many. So at times I do use my screen recorder, but I'm kind of going through like a lot of rearranging in this room. I do have videos going into certain topics, and I will be uploading more on my Patreon. If you would like to support or be a sponsor of my channel, that would be amazing. Like I said, Diana-7. You'll see my picture there. If you have a topic, I could break it down. I could show you different steps, and that could be like a sponsored video where I would give that type of information. Other times I just put it on private, or it goes on my Patreon, because some of the information is quite sensitive too. So, I like to make it more of an educational thing where you can use YouTube as a way to generate revenue. There is nothing wrong with that, especially if you do it in a respectful manner. You don't got to keep up with the Joneses, guys. You don't got to be like, oh, this one's doing Instagram, this one's doing whatever. That is on them. People sell their soul and their integrity in different ways. When I do my private stuff, this is all educational. If anyone didn't appreciate that, well, there's other forums, you know what I mean? And I'm trying to elevate people in a professional way. in all the ways, right? Trying to upgrade you, right? As Beyonce would say, let me upgrade you kind of thing, right? Mentally, in all kind of ways. And this applies too to some that we may have clashed before. Sometimes I'll do my drive-bys on certain lives and I'll be like, hey, or I'll just put like a little emoji and I'll be on my way, right? It's like showing like, you know what I mean? That's like my little peace offering. And it's not a competition. I think that there's been a lot of misunderstanding on these spaces too, where people can take things out of context. Some people want you to call in and like make it known all your opinions. And it's already tough enough to put my opinions out there on these spaces. And when it comes to meeting new people and having these type of discussions, I rather do it privately. You know what I mean? Some people are more comfortable blasting their telephone number all over YouTube and having people call in. Me, I'm not like that. It's like, oh, okay, you know what I mean? You could text me and say hi. I love collabing with people. I've met a lot of great people on here too from different states, which is great because, I definitely want to get out there and travel more, and it would be great, to network, especially, more West Coast. Also, connecting West Coast to the East Coast. Shout out from the East Coast, right? I do like the West Coast too. I do like the California vibe. I've been there a couple of times. The Pacific Ocean's actually colder than I thought it would be. Who knew? I'm so used to visiting family in Florida and having that warm zone 12 climate water, which I think Florida is like the hottest zone in America, or the United States of America. I'm pretty sure it's like one of the hottest too. That's why it's hard for me. Like, a lot of them move down there and it's like, it'd be great, but I'd be like wanting to go to the beach all the time. Hey, you never know. I guess there's still time, but it seems like too many people from the north went down there. But yeah, with the economy and the rents and stuff, it's like it's mega crazy even over here too. So I've been helping people like in private to kind of counter any type of issues, fighting evictions even. There's a lot of people going through it, a lot of landlords who sell their property or can have a falling out, or you know what I mean, it can get really messy. And that people will need help defending themselves in certain situations because they'll be targeted. You could be targeted being a whistleblower. You could be targeted by making a complaint to the Board of Health or something, right? If they refuse to fix something and you're like, okay, let me call the Board of Health. Well, now they want a gun for you kind of thing. Well, you still have options, right? Because it shows that it was more of a retaliatory thing, right? So, maybe you could recoup or do like a counterclaim, and there's like situations where you can recoup to help you go to the next spot, and they can do a state of execution. But even that is really tough too. A lot of these slumlords need to get it together because they try to intimidate people and try to threaten them. I see that a lot too, with said different terms, right? If it goes too far. And, I help people fight that, because if that's on your record, that is a really hard thing to overcome, right? And then you're getting judged for that your whole life, right? And that could prevent you from getting certain housing opportunities and stuff like that. So the more I hear from other people's stories, the more it's like it can resonate more and more, especially with the corporations just buying stuff out. And there's like real problems out there. It's not just on one or another. That's why men and women really need to come together and work together instead of trying to snake each other. And although I make my jokes, I am not in the business to try to snake anyone. But, two can play that game. I could pretend that the person's getting over, but yeah, I'm doing my due diligence to defend myself and keep it pushing. That's how you got to be, right? Because a lot of us, we wouldn't even be bothering anyone until we got provoked, right? It's like you're in your own lane. Sometimes you could be oblivious to what's going on in the world, where people are coming at you thinking something's wrong with you. I'm like, well, I thought that's what I was supposed to do. It was like, mind my own business, right? Stay out of the way or whatever. It's like you're damned if you do, you're damned if you don't. But it's best to do that, just move accordingly. But thank you so much, guys. We're going to wrap this up at 20 minutes. It's going to be a short video. I'll definitely read some definitions as I go on. Yes, my room's just like a little messy. You see, it's all, I got that little light. It's not even working today. I took down my whole backdrop, my War of the Roses backdrop. I think we're still in the War of the Damn Roses. The whole backside, I think, needs to be repainted. Maybe like a nice pale gray. Maybe. We'll see. Well, guys, have a great day. Thank you so much. We'll keep this short and we'll talk soon. Take care, y'all.